Welcome. It's Freedom Friday and we are live. This is the totally new thing that I'm doing. I'm doing it very much spontaneously without too much practice, but I wanted to get in the habit of moving our lives to a Freedom Friday, because every Friday needs to be a Freedom Friday. Why? Because it's right before the weekend, and the weekend, as we all know, is where food troubles tend to creep in. So what I'd love to do is to throw this idea out there for you. If you are struggling with food and during the week you notice either something's happened for you during the week or you've got something coming up in the weekend ahead that you'd love to share with me so I can help you through the wonderful medium of YouTube, I would love to do that. So comment on today's live or send me a message or find me on Instagram or TikTok or any of the socials at Coach Helen Bennett, and I will help you navigate any food freedom obstacles or compulsion struggles that you foresee coming, or we can discuss what's happened in the week past. So this is that opportunity to reset yourself before a weekend, to take a little moment to tune into what might trip you up in the days ahead, and to do a little bit of pre-planning work mentally, perhaps emotionally and physically too. And I want to help you do that, because there ain't no point in waking up on Saturday morning thinking this weekend's going to be perfect. I'm just going to try harder, and actually having no plan and nothing new to try and no new skills to practice. So that's what I'm here for. But today we're going to talk about I'm going to answer two, maybe three questions if I have time, that I received during the week on Instagram. And the first one is probably a hot topic for everybody right now, but I think this is really targeted at somebody who is struggling with the huge use and the big uptake of GLP-1 in the usage, without any judgment for those who are using it. But if you are somebody who is finding themselves torn because you have been working very hard to release the idea that the only thing that is of value in this world is our weight, when the world is telling you everything but that. And also maybe you've been working really hard to release restrictive anything, because if you're part of this community, we all know, or maybe you're new, but the big rule is restriction generally creates the opposite effect. So for every diet, there's an equal and opposite binge. And we see in the world of GLP-1 weight loss drug use that as somebody comes off these drugs, they regain the weight. And I'd imagine there's a lot of overcompensatory kind of ravenous survival-based hunger that's coming out of that from the body that's been starved as the drug numbed all of those signals. So I work with a lot of people using GLP-1. So I'm personally very supportive of the use of a GLP-1 as a tool. It can be an incredible tool for some people, and maybe it's a tool that you might choose. And so what we're going to do today is just talk about should you, shouldn't you? And I'm not going to be giving you any data or statistics. I'm just going to give you two questions to ask yourself that will help inform the best decision for you. And we're just going to talk about how to protect this mental health, this strength that you might be trying to build against this idea that the only thing of value in this world is thinness. So we'll talk about those two things, and then I've got one more question that we can dive into as well around stress and restrictive behavior around food, as opposed to stress and overeating. So super interesting things coming up. Let's dive in. Everybody seems to be using a GLP-1. Everybody and their neighbor, and maybe soon to be their pets, will all seem to be on weight loss drugs. And if you're feeling pressure or overwhelm or anger or frustration about that, I got you, sister. I hear you. I love you. And I've been there. If I'm honest, when I first found out about these drugs, I was a little bit jealous. Because I thought to myself, God diggity damn, if I'd had access or knowledge of this particular type of medication with this efficacy 20 odd years ago, when I was beset with nonstop urges to eat, constant food noise, constant thinking about food, worrying about food, guilt about what I'd eaten. If you're watching this, you probably know what I mean. And I'd had the opportunity to use something that could dull that or take it away completely. I would have dived in with both hands. I would have been like, sign me up. I don't care how much it costs. I'll mortgage my house or whatever to do it. Now, I'm actually in retrospect glad I didn't, because it is, from what we see, just a tool, very powerful tool. And it's certainly not a solution. And I think because I didn't have access to it, I was forced to do the work that's led me to the place now where I step onto YouTube on a Friday and I help people navigate all their struggles with food, and we discover what the real causes of their compulsions are. We reconnect you with your hunger and your fullness again, first step, and then we work out what's all that non-hunger eating, and we work out what to do. It's action-based stuff here. We want results through action differently so that you can transform your relationship with food to something to calm and relaxed, take it or leave it. I want you to be able to have a piece of chocolate cake in the fridge or in the kitchen right now and not be even worrying about whether you're going to eat it or not. Because you know that if you really wanted it, you could have it. And if your tummy's craving chocolate cake, you'll have a bit of it and you'll move on with your day. So to get there, we have to navigate all of these minefields. And oh my goodness, are GLP1s a huge minefield for anybody who is doing all this work only to be thrown with a kind of magical injection, a magic pill that would take away all their struggles overnight, or seemingly so. And if that's you and you debating or worrying about all of the use and what should you do, let's start with asking two simple questions. What is the story in your head about everybody else using that GLP-1? Let's just start there. What is the story in your head about everybody else using GLP-1? What does it mean to you? Are you experiencing comparison, pressure, fear? What's going on? And once you get clear on that story, oftentimes when you extract the story, you can see where there's sort of errors in the narrative. And here's the second piece to this question of whether you should or shouldn't, or what you're going to do with all this GLP-1 noise. That should be a new thing, right? Goddamn GLP-1 noise. The second question is, if you were to tune into your intuition, is this something that's right for you? You will know. You know, it's funny because it's interesting. My intuition just screamed at me as I asked that question. And the answer for me was immediately no. And I knew why, because I'm in a perfectly, happy, healthy body. I'm not overweight. I'm not underweight currently. And either one. But could I do with losing a couple of kilos? Sure. Would it be nice to fit into all my clothes a little bit better? Absolutely. And that's when the GLP-1 noise and the frustration around this can show up for people. It's when, you actually maybe don't need it at all. Boy, it would be nice. And, so everybody's going to be different here, but just ask two questions. What does everybody else being on a GLP-1 mean for you? What does it mean for you? And then that's a difficult one. I'd love to coach you on that. I kind of need a bit more data on that one. But we could work through those thoughts and those narratives, and we can shift them and move them into really empowering beliefs that would get behind the second piece, which is, what is my intuition telling me is right for me? Now, in my case, I heard a screaming no. As much as it'd be lovely to lose a couple of kilos and fit into all those clothes and get everybody's compliments with a bit of weight loss, because that's what the world delivers. I know intuitively there's absolutely no need, and why, So the second thing, the other thing is, what if what you've just heard is a yes? I need to give myself a big permission slip to use this tool in the same way that somebody struggling with depression might give themselves a big permission slip to use the tool of, a Prozac type medication in order to feel better when they are suffering. If you are suffering in your current body, or you're suffering with food noise, and this is a tool that you want to give yourself a big permission slip to use, and you can feel your intuition saying, give yourself a break, then maybe it's time for you to say yes to a GLP-1, right? Because for the most part, they seem safe. And there's been a lot of data on this. So until they tell us otherwise, we have to roll with the information we have and make the best decision we can at the time. But the decision has always got to be for us. The danger is when we're making a decision based on everybody else's expectations. If we are losing weight so that other people, or trying to lose weight so that other people will love us, that's where we get in big trouble. And that's what I really wanted to encourage you to take away from this live today, because the theme is, how do we protect our mental health when the world is going weight loss, thin, GLP-1 crazy? And that's to tune back into, what do I need for me? And then we do the work to get our narratives and those stories that we're telling ourselves behind what is good for us. So if I was wrestling with the idea of using one to lose a couple of kilos or whatever, the frustration of thin being in, as an example, and everybody using them, just when we've done all this work to, to embrace our natural bodies, the way I would reframe that would be something like, let them be on their journey, I'm on mine. And I would ground myself deeply. And in fact, I've done this. So, this is not just me hypothesizing. I've had to go here a few times with this GLP-1 thing, which is really, I know it's not something I choose to do. It's not right for me. I'm going to send a lot of love and, excitement and hope for all the people who are using it. And for me personally, that's right. So every time I get that old story that says, but Helen, if you could just lose a few kilos, wouldn't it be nice? I just remind myself that everybody's on their journey and I'm on mine, and I know what's right for me. So we can take that story and just keep rerouting it. Every time you hear it kicking off, you're like, let them do their thing. They're entitled to their experience. I'm not going to judge them, but I'm also not going to put pressure on myself to do something that I know deep down is not right for me, right? So we got to double down on our own work. We got to tune into that intuition, and boy, oh boy, do we have to listen. So this is going to be challenging. But I want to say as well, if this GLP-1 use is creating such an overwhelming desire for thin, because that's what the world is screaming is what we want, what's in right now. First of all, it isn't in everywhere. There are plenty of people out there who appreciate larger bodies. And by larger, sometimes I just mean normal weight, whatever that means, but certainly not hectically thin. And the idea that thin is the only way is certainly not the case. And I know plenty of people who would not find that attractive at all. So, usually that's what it boils down to. But in general, your journey is your journey. And the only journey we're on in this lifetime is to make the most of the experience we have with this incredible body. And what I know for sure is this: there will come a day that we will trade everything we have to be back in the body that we're in right now, regardless of how thin or thick or comfortable or uncomfortable it is. And so the work that I do with myself and with all my clients is really about how can we help you come to the happiest, healthiest, most vibrant, most mobile, most agile, most energized version of you. And we have a little internal knowledge about where that set point is. We know when we've gone too far one way, we know when we've gone too far another, and we know when we're actually feeling really good in our bodies, regardless of what society is telling us is the new, aspirational shape. So, or the old aspirational shape coming back into vogue. This is challenging work. I think it's particularly challenging if you're young, and particularly challenging if you're in that sort of dating scene, and body image and shape is, there's so much more weight placed on that. And so I acknowledge my privilege in a way of being older and married, that I'm not feeling that pressure to change my shape in order to be attractive. But what I'm saying is break that crazy ass thing if it's in your head, and remind yourself that you really, really and truly are loved and found attractive by so many different people for so many reasons, and it's all relative. And thank God we don't all love the same thing. And I know plenty of men who love big bodies, and I know plenty of men who love small bodies, and women. It's all same. And ultimately, I bet you fall in love with somebody who was not your ideal shape and whatever. And it had nothing to do with their body at all. It was just their shining, glorious personality and confidence, or whatever it was, that came through. And you found yourself a little bit dumbstruck that you would ever find somebody like that attractive, because up until that point you hadn't. So here we go. It's all about that energy and that inner light. So bollocks to GLP-1s. No, not bollocks to GLP-1s. Bollocks to thin is the only thing. And I think we're going to see a massive backlash from that. So I'm looking forward to that day when we can just get rid of this whole thin is the new in again. Oh my God, we had it enough in the 80s, please, and the 90s, please. Let's just get back to some normality, please, people. But nonetheless, your mental health is important, and doing the work to catch those stories and reframe them and get them behind your beliefs. If you need a bit of help with that, work with a coach, work with a therapist, work with whoever you need to work with, in order to make sure that you're not torturing yourself with the story you're telling yourself about what everybody else is doing. Your journey on this earth is your journey. Make it your own, be happy, and don't rely on other people or weight loss for happiness, because it ain't coming from there. All right. And it's a completely undependable source. All right. The second question I had, what a glorious little question, was My challenge is being too restrictive. I don't think it's anything to do with my body or my appearance. Awesome. But I do know my levels of cortisol are very high indeed. Kind of what becomes with doing a degree. So what I'm getting from this message is somebody is under a lot of stress, probably at university. I'd imagine that's a degree, and under stress, what does she do? She becomes controlling, restrictive around food. And I love that because in my experience and most of the clients I work with, stress would cause the opposite. It would create an overeating response. But if stress is creating an undereating or a restrictive response to food, how interesting and how amazing that your incredible body that's feeling a lot of fear and fight or flight right now, because that's usually what stress is, or cortisol, that's usually where it comes from. How wonderful that it's trying to find a way to make you calm and find peace. And what it's gone to is, if I can control something else external to this other stress, then I will feel better. You know, we're medicating with everything, with substances and behaviors. And restriction is a kind of behavioral response of controlling and having agency where maybe other parts of your life feel out of control or overwhelming or too much. So this is what I would say to that. Because I imagine this person sending me this question because she and I both know that the more we restrict, the more likely we create the opposite response. So she doesn't want to do that. She wants to have a good relationship with her body. And so she's realized, oh my God, I'm restricting. This could be a bit dangerous. What do I do? And my answer is, your brilliant nervous system is looking for a way to regulate itself. And right now, controlling food feels like something that feels better. It probably pulls your focus away from what's going on. It helps you feel in control of your life for a moment or two. Maybe you feel power or agency. I mean, nothing wrong with that, right? But the problem is that it's being directed at the wrong thing. So what I would say is, why not have a little look at what's causing that cortisol spike? What is the stress that's coming along with that degree? And that's where we can begin to gently shift your focus so that you can move that trying to create agency from food into the place where it really needs to be. And I see this a lot of people say to me, oh, I'm stressed that I'm overeating. I should just change my food. And my answer is, no, we got to change the stress, sister. We got to change the stress, because that's actually where the problem truly is. And more often than not, again, we need to ask ourselves, what is the story in my head right now that's creating a stress response? And oftentimes we're telling ourselves a story that isn't even true. I can't handle it. I can't cope. And yet there we are, handling and coping, right? We might be coping with food or lack of food, but we're still coping. So let's change the story. This feels very difficult right now. I might need some help with this. There's a lot of things on my plate. Interesting, turn of phrase. What can I let go of? What can I act on? What is the next right step for me? What is my most important task? There's a million ways we can go. But first we just say, hey, how cool that my incredible body is trying to find a degree of calm and peace through doing something that creates control. And now that I have that awareness, I can begin to redirect it where it actually needs to be. So I can have a peaceful relationship with food and actually put all my energy and attention into how do I manage the stress that's creating that cortisol response that's having me double down on restriction. Wonderful question. Thanks so much for shooting it through. I'm going to leave it there for today because that was quite a long one. Please, I'd love to hear your questions. Just pop them in the comments for the next Live at Lunch. Oh, no, it's not Live at Lunch, sorry. Freedom Friday Live. That's our new thing now. I will endeavor to go live for a good 15 minutes or so every Friday with your questions before the weekend. So you can look out for that and shoot me your questions so I've got something to talk about, will you? Because I know we all got struggles. And if your struggles are food, then I'm here to help you with that. All right. Have a beautiful weekend ahead. And remember, if in doubt, just take a deep breath. If you're feeling overwhelmed with food or life or anything else, just take a deep breath and tune back in. What is it that I need? What is it that's good and right for me? What is my next right step? And oftentimes you might hear a very distinct answer. I need a break. I need a rest. I need connection. I need to feel the sun on my skin. I need to get to bed early. I need a nourishing meal. I need to stop. Listen, that's always a good place to start. The rest we work out from there. And that's what all the other work that I do is about, is navigating all the, in my case, or in this case of food freedom, non-hunger urges to eat. That's what all of these other videos will help you do. But ultimately, if in doubt, tune in, bring it back in, baby, bring it back in and listen. And usually you get a little whisper that tells you what you need most right now. And if you don't, that's okay. Make your next best guess. And if you're feeling overwhelmed by GLP1s or anything else, it's okay. You are human. We're going through a lot right now. And listen to that inner instinct, whether it's a yes or a no, and then get your beliefs and your thoughts behind you and take one step at a time, remembering that your GLP-1 is always a tool. It's a tool, and there will be other work to be done, whether you're using it or not. The other work out there for you, and that's why I'm here for you. If you'd like to work with me, of course, you can reach out at foodfreedomfoundations.com/call, or just send me a little DM and we'll make sure we connect. We'll have a little chitty chat. Make sure you're right for what I do. I don't want to work with anybody who I can't help. So if I can help you, yay. And if I can't, I'll let you know and I will redirect you somewhere else. And if you're interested in joining the Food Freedom Fighters this year, it's a 1-year membership where we're going to just kick so much food freedom ass, make your head spin. Let me know and I'll send you a little 7-day free trial of that membership. We'd love to see you in there. It's a small, dedicated group of amazing humans on a journey for freedom. And boy, oh boy, we would love to have you on board. Now, you're going to have to work hard and show up for yourself and for others. But I tell you what, when you start doing the work and you're putting into practice everything we do in the membership, you will absolutely love and be excited about how things can change. And who knows, maybe you'll have that piece of cake sitting in the microwave, as it is in my case, right behind you, and it's not even knocking on your door. And you know you can have it when you want it. And it's just kind of, meh, wouldn't that be amazing? All right, lovely. By the way, cake's in the microwave because the ants will get it if I don't put it in there. I'm not weird. All right, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll catch you next Friday. Adios.